Have you ever heard of the real Lone Ranger? A lawman so legendary, so feared by outlaws, that his story seems ripped straight from a Hollywood script. But this man was real. His name was Reeves, and his life was more incredible than any fiction. He brought over 3,000 fugitives to justice, stared down death countless times, and did it all as a black man in the heart of the American West, a time when the odds were stacked impossibly against him. Today, we're diving deep into the untold story of one of the greatest lawmen in American history. Reeves was born into slavery in Crawford County, Arkansas in 1838. From a young age, he was forced to serve a man named William Steele Reeves, a Texas legislator and farmer. It was during this time that Bass, despite the brutal circumstances, developed an incredible skill set. He became a crack shot, renowned for his almost supernatural accuracy with both a pistol and a rifle. He was also known for his calm demeanor, his physical strength, and a keen intellect that allowed him to outthink his opponents. When the Civil War broke out, William Reeves joined the Confederate Army, and he forced Bass to go with him. The details of what happened next are a bit hazy, as historical records from this period are scarce. But the most widely accepted story is that Bass and his owner had a violent altercation, some say over a card game. Fearing for his life, Bass beat William Reeves and fled, making a desperate escape into what was then known as Indian Territory, modern-day Oklahoma. For a man escaping slavery, Indian Territory was a dangerous yet unique refuge. It was a vast, lawless land, largely outside the jurisdiction of the United States. Here, Reeves lived among the Cherokee, Creek, and Seminole nations. He learned their languages, their customs, and their tracking skills. He honed his survival abilities, becoming an expert in navigating the unforgiving terrain. This period of his life was crucial. It transformed him from a skilled farmhand into a master frontiersman, a man perfectly suited for the wild country he would one day be tasked to tame. He lived as a free man, a farmer, and even started a family during these years. Then, in 1875, everything changed. A man named Isaac Parker, famously known as the Hanging Judge, was appointed to the federal court in Fort Smith, Arkansas. His jurisdiction covered the sprawling, chaotic Indian Territory, a haven for outlaws, thieves, and murderers. Judge Parker needed men who were tough, fearless, and incorruptible. Most importantly, he needed men who knew the territory inside and out. The U.S. Marshal James Fagan was tasked with recruiting 200 deputy marshals. Remembering the formidable man who had lived among the tribes, he sought out Reeves. At a time when black men were systematically denied rights and opportunities, Reeves was commissioned as one of the very first black deputy U.S. Marshals west of the Mississippi River. This was an extraordinary appointment. His job was to ride into the 75,000 square mile territory and serve warrants, bringing fugitives back to Fort Smith for trial, dead or alive. And Reeves was astonishingly good at his job. For over 32 years, he rode the outlaw trail. He was a master of disguise, a brilliant detective, and a force of nature. He would often use his wits to catch his quarry. One time, he was hunting two notorious brothers. Knowing they would recognize him on sight, he disguised himself as a poor, illiterate farmer on the run. He shot holes in an old hat, wore ragged clothes, and walked miles to their mother's cabin. He told her a sob story about being hunted by a posse and asked for a place to rest. She let him in, and when her outlaw sons returned, she introduced them to the poor man who needed help. That night, after they all went to sleep, Bass handcuffed the brothers without a fight and marched them back to his camp miles away, where his posse was waiting. His methods were legendary. He would often leave Fort Smith with a pocket full of warrants, a wagon, a cook, and sometimes a postman. He would disappear into the territory for months at a time, returning with a dozen or more prisoners chained to his wagon. Outlaws across the territory spoke his name in hushed, fearful tones. They knew that if Bass Reeves had your warrant, it wasn't a matter of if you'd be caught, but when. He was also famous for his integrity and his strict adherence to the law. He always carried the warrants with him and would read them to the fugitives before making an arrest. He claimed to have never drawn his weapon first, but when forced into a gunfight, he rarely missed. It's estimated that he killed 14 men in the line of duty, but always in self-defense. He faced death constantly. His hat and the brim of his saddle were shot off on multiple occasions. Once, a group of outlaws ambushed him, but his belt buckle deflected the bullet, saving his life. Perhaps the most telling story of his character involves his own son. One of the warrants he was given was for his own son, Benny, who was charged with murdering his wife in a jealous rage. Other deputies were reluctant to take the warrant, out of respect for Bass. But Bass Reeves insisted. He said it was his duty. He tracked his son down, arrested him, and brought him back to face Judge Parker's court. Benny was convicted and sent to Leavenworth Penitentiary. It was a heartbreaking moment, but it cemented his reputation as a man for whom the law was absolute, above family and personal feelings. Throughout his long career, Bass Reeves brought in over 3,000 fugitives. Think about that number. That's an average of almost 100 a year, many of them the most dangerous criminals of the era. He arrested notorious outlaws like Bob Dozier, a cattle rustler and murderer who had evaded capture for years. Reeves tracked Dozier to the Cherokee Nation, cornered him, and after a tense gun battle, brought him down. So, where does the Lone Ranger connection come in? Many historians believe that the legend of Bass Reeves was a direct inspiration for the fictional character. Consider the facts. Bass Reeves was a lawman of unimpeachable moral character. He often rode with a Native American postman or companion. He was a master of disguise. He would often leave silver coins as a sort of calling card, or to pay for information, much like the Lone Ranger's silver bullets. Given the racial attitudes of the early 20th century, when the Lone Ranger character was created, it is highly plausible that the creators whitewashed the story of this incredible black lawman to make it more palatable for a mainstream white audience. As the years went by, the West began to change. In 1907, Oklahoma achieved statehood, and the jurisdiction of the federal marshals over the old Indian Territory came to an end. Bass Reeves, then nearly 70 years old, saw his legendary career as a deputy marshal conclude. But he wasn't done with law enforcement. He took a job as a police officer in Muskogee, Oklahoma. The story goes that during his 2 years on the force, there wasn't a single crime reported on his beat. His reputation preceded him. The mere sight of him was enough to deter any would-be criminal. Bass Reeves passed away from Bright's disease in 1910 at the age of 71. His death was noted in the local paper, which called him one of the bravest men this country has ever known. But after his death, his incredible story was largely forgotten, erased from the popular narrative of the American West, a narrative that too often excluded the contributions of Black Americans. For decades, his legacy lived on only in obscure historical records and in the oral traditions of the families in Oklahoma. But in recent years, thanks to the work of dedicated historians, his story is finally being brought into the light. Bass Reeves wasn't just a lawman. He was a symbol of justice, integrity, and incredible courage in a world that offered him very little of any. He navigated a complex and dangerous landscape, defined not by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character and his unwavering commitment to the law. He is, without a doubt, one of the true giants of American history. So the next time you think of the Wild West, of legendary lawmen and daring shootouts, remember Bass Reeves, the real-life hero whose story is more compelling, more inspiring, and more important than any myth. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden histories.